You're Anon, the oblivious human equestrian guy. Make me wet.
Anon?
Twilight Sparkle gazed towards you with a stare full of innocence and compassion. Those dark violet hues were so beautiful, with a hint of mischief. Her lips curled into a tiny pout before she closed the thick red book in her hooves with a thud. Twilight's tail swayed behind her in swift, elegant motions. Everything about her dripped with a playful essence that you hadn't seen in many girls on Earth. Especially towards you. Yeah? He coughs nervously under your breath. You've been busy all day fixing up stuff around Twilight's private library. Most of what she had you work on wasn't really ever broken. It was as if she just had you around for company. This, honestly, was fine. You love nice ponies to chat with, and they seem to understand you on an emotional level. That was something you far more preferred over a purely physical relationship.
Do you enjoy living with me?
And Twilight lifted her book in front of her muzzle, full of shyness, and both cheeks glowed with a bright red hue. Well, yeah. You're very sweet and understanding, you replied with a large smile as you shuffled a few boxes of books around.
Do you enjoy the late-night cuddles that we share?
She took a deep breath, pushing forward on the subject. The ones under the moonlight on the balcony? You suddenly froze in place, your back turned to the princess in growing silence.
Indeed.
She lifted off her large velvet pillow and took a few dainty steps in your direction. Yes. You swallowed a huge lump in your throat. You knew where this was heading. All those late nights rolling on the floor of the castle or sleeping on the balcony under the ballet of shining stars. It all meant one thing could only be upon the horizon.
I am dirty, Anon. A filthy little pony.
Twilight whimpered under her breath before she wrapped both slender hooves around your waist. You could feel the tiny creature pull closer into an embrace full of silent passion. What can I possibly do? You gazed out the nearby window with narrowed eyes and a racing heart.
Make me wet, Anon. Take me here in this room, right now.
Twilight's cheeks burned brightly as she watched you turn around to face her with a stone-faced expression. Okay, I'll do it. You nodded, knowing it must be done. It took a little while to carry the large metal tub up all those stairs to the library, but after about 30 minutes of hard work, you were able to get that filthy little pony into the soapy water for a bath. She was covered in bright pink bubbles from head to hoof, and you smiled with a heartwarming chuckle, spraying her with a hose from behind. After this, you won't be so dirty, I promise. You gave a wink and took a drink from a glass of cider in your hands. Twilight glared forward to no pony in particular, eyes full of annoyance. She had never been so wet in her life. Buck me against a tree. The sound of apples hitting the ground was like a melody of the wild, as if Mother Nature decided it was time to bust out into a sweet bass solo. You sat under a massive apple tree in silence and watched an adorable copper pony buck trees to her heart's content. You had a bottle of apple cider in your hands. If it made the mare happy to work all day under the warm caress of Celestia's sun, who are you to judge? Sometimes, you could spend days at a time in a good book, the world passing by you in a blink of an eye. Sometimes, we all just need to do something that just puts our mindset at ease, be at work, play, or anything in between. Applejack was coated in a fresh batch of sweat. Those emerald eyes burned into you from across the orchard. She was well-toned for a pony, to be honest, and it was a lovely sight to behold. Muscular tight legs, a plump round butt, and of course, chest floof that beckons to be touched.
Sugar cube.
She gave a feminine stretch in place as she lifted her sun-kissed tail high into the air teasingly. AJ? You quivered, a tad nervous. Lifting from your safe patch of grass, you walked over to the mare. Applejack wouldn't just call you over unless it was very important. Without a moment's hesitation, you both locked gazes in absolute silence of the moment. The only sound in the large open orchard of that was two beating hearts.
I see the way you stare, Anon,
she whispered in a gentle tune. I... You couldn't quite find the words.
Shush. Shush. I just want you to buck me against this tree.
Applejack giggled with a devious little grin across her lips. I couldn't, you gasped in terrified shock of her request.
You can't hurt me. Just give me one hard buck.
Applejack began to whimper below you. The poor creature looked so uncomfortable. Fine, for you. You took a deep breath with a look of genuine determination.
Thank you, sugar.
She yelped in pain as your foot came crashing down across her muzzle in a loud echoing pop. The tiny copper body of the mare smashed across the vibrant tree with a dull thud. Applejack easily knocked out cold from the mere impact of the kick. Was that helpful? You asked, confused as bright red apples rained from the sky above. She never had such a hard bucking. A roll in the hay. Fluttershy daintily pranced around the open doors of her shed. She was busy counting out her monthly supplies and what she'd need to acquire within the coming days. Every so often, those large turquoise-colored eyes would shyly glance over towards you. Fluttershy was the soft-spoken sort. What she lacked in conversation skills, she made up in body language. Every few steps, she'd sway her butt to the side in a teasing gesture. Or perhaps Rocco's full elegant hips back and forth, sometimes even just giving a playful little swish of her full-bodied pink tail. You always found her the most graceful of ponies in Equestria. Every moment with her, an absolute delight.
Anon, sir?
Fluttershy spoke up in a barely audible whisper. Ma'am? You gazed up from the chart in your hands. From what you could tell, she wasn't really missing anything to replace this month.
You're about the only creature to ever really listen to me.
Fluttershy blushed a vibrant pink over both cheeks, embarrassed. Well, I'm happy to help, Fluttershy. I have to admit to loving your secret talks. You jokingly gave a bow to the mare with a bright white smile.
Oh, as do I.
She giggled. Her eyes lifted away from the ground, locking onto your own with a sparkle.
Would I be out of, line?
Fluttershy burned a brighter red. Huh? You quirked a brow.
If I suggested.
She gave a sharp inhale full of anxiety. Huh?
Can we, us, no, you.
Fluttershy curled into a tiny ball, shivering in fear.
Anon, do you want to roll in the hay?
Fluttershy squealed in outright embarrassment. Both hooves lifted to hide her face away. Oh, well sure, sounds like a blast! You chuckled out joyously before dropping your chart. Screaming in a loud howl of excitement, you dashed past Fluttershy into the shed, quickly to find the largest pile of hay in the tiny building. With a delighted chortle, you dived into the soft, welcoming surface, rolling around atop the hay without a care in the world. You waited for Fluttershy to join in on the fun, but instead, she simply galloped off towards her cottage in embarrassment, leaving you befuddled and alone, surrounded by waves of golden hay. Was that something you said? One-eyed snake. Rainbowdesh took pride in getting whatever she wanted, from whoever she wanted, and whenever she wanted. You stood outside just below her totally awesome cloud house in the sky, neck craned towards the heavens in silence. Droplets of warm water suddenly trickled down your cheek from high above. Swooping down from her cloud in one swift motion, Rainbow was fresh out of a warm, relaxing shower. Her Technicolor mane was flat and glistened with beautiful rays of the sun. She was slender and built in all the right places. Her rump a plump, soft shape, muzzle pursed into a flirty little pout, unlike any you've ever seen. She'd heard about the other ponies who'd failed to catch your eye, but she wouldn't be one of them. You felt beyond uncomfortable in front of this wet little mare, watching as she swayed her rump in a sexy, exaggerated motion. Lifting off her front hooves, she pressed femininely against your toned, firm body. Rubbing her delicate hoofs across your chest, she let her warm breath caress over your neck in a truly flirtatious fashion. She had you perfectly in her grasp, one you would never escape. You shivered in anticipation and growing fear, watching in awe as the blue Pegasus lifted her tail high to beckon for attention.
Hey, Anon, can you check my bush?
she growled under her breath. Why? You stuttered nervously.
To see if any one-eyed snakes are inside.
Rainbow jokingly smirked with a sly wink. Oh my Celestia! You narrowed both eyes in place. It might have taken 6 long hours, but you eventually were able to check all 42 bushes that surrounded Rainbow's cloud house. Not a single Cyclops snake found in any of them. If you had to think of something, you probably figured that it just slithered off when you were not looking. Nope. You turned to face your friend with a proud smile. Yet, she wasn't anywhere to be seen. You thick bastard. Rarity had invited you over for a lovely cup of tea, but, to your surprise, it was just a guise to be able to question you about a few things. So, here you sat, if barely at a quite undersized pink-colored table, legs scrunched up at the sides of Equestria's most petite little chair.
Darling, I'm simply going to cut to the chase.
Rarity sat across from you, sipping on a dainty glass of hot tea, with a gaze of seriousness. Please do, I'm actually late for a date with Pinkie Pie. You sipped from your own tiny cup, pinky finger barely able to fit into the handle loop.
The girls have told me about you dodging them.
Rarity flaunted her slender hoof towards you in curiosity. Dodging? I've spent all day with them! You snorted in a playful reply.
No, that you won't buck them, darling.
Rarity smacked her lips casually, expecting a reply. I kicked Applejack already, who else wants to be bucked? You quirked a brow, confused.
No, I mean to shag.
Rarity narrowed her dark blue eyes, annoyed. Who's too shaggy? Is it Rainbow? You replied, confused.
Pound?
Rarity scrunched her muzzle cutely. A pound of what, sugar?
Screw!
Rarity sighed. I left all my tools at home! He gave an absent-minded blink.
To give them your dick!
Rarity tossed her teacup aside, rage growling within. I don't have a private investigator to give! You tossed yours away, too.
Cock! I am talking about giving cock!
Rarity lifted onto the table, screaming wildly. Rarity, I don't raise chickens! You leaned inward, matching her anger.
Dear Celestia, you're thick.
Rarity scoffed with a frazzled mane. You watched her gallop off in anger. The door of her adorable boutique slammed shut loudly behind her, leaving you alone with your thoughts. How dare she call you fat? One simple word. Pinkie Pie watched you with unblinking ocean-colored eyes. You sat on the floor of her bedroom, watching her just as intensely in return. Time seemed to nearly stop. The world seemed to merely fade away. Pinkie nodded, the right words suddenly found.
Sex?
She snorted cutely. "'Kay." You smiled back full of warmth. You've been waiting to hear that word all day. Before ending off this amazingly misleading and very funny fanfic, I'd like to give a big shout out to my exceptional donators. Yoshi Super Saiyan 2, Peter Coulthard, Nicholas Springthorpe, Dospo, David D. Sanchez, Dwight Cornel, Gagi, Secret Moon, Starlight Glimmer, Trey, Pokekillerzach, SoulDragon, Dak Britton, and Joe Piercy. Thank you all very much for watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one.